draft is coming up the day after the Fan Golf Classic. The
It's
very next day.
gonna be 48 hours.
So with the Blazers holding the 11th pick, we were just talking about the Lakers and their sale. That is a big deal because that adds an element of unknown to a team that we know is going to be aggressive to fill out a roster around Luka and LeBron.
Particularly
this
at one
offseason.
position. It's at the center spot, and here's the thing. The Lakers have called everyone about everyone. They have. They if there is a big man that is remotely gettable in the league, they have made a phone call.
I am pro don't do business with the Lakers.
But
Just
if you can-
saying. Just saying.
If you can extort, and that's what's happened. Everybody, like the single worst position you can be in as an organization is having a need that everyone knows that you have to fill.
I wonder if that's the trick that Danny Ainge uses. Is that what Danny does? Is he's just like, hey, you don't want to do I'm not the Lakers, man. Do business with me. So he got Boston rolling. He's fleecing people in
Well,
Utah.
the funny thing is, you can talk about it now. When the Blazers traded Dame, I mentioned that, yes, the Clippers and Celtics were after Drew. The team that also that I mentioned in there was the Utah Jazz. Utah Jazz were hoping that they could peel off Drew Holiday. They weren't willing to give up one of their young prospects in order to get it done. They were interested. I'll just put it that way. But their hope was they could have Drew, they could have Lowry, they could have Walker, and that in the next 6 months to a year, took a little longer than that, but they could peel off Luka. Their great white whale was Luka. That's what Danny Ainge was chasing for literally 3 years. He was trying to set it up so that they could make a move for Luka. And then, unbeknownst to him, because everybody forgets, the Jazz were the facilitator of the Luka deal as far as depositing money. And he had no idea until basically 5 minutes before when he was notified of what the whole trade was, because he was kept in the dark.
He should have been like, no.
He knew he was facilitating something.
Yeah. Didn't know it was the Luka deal.
But he thought it was like something a lot more minor than Luka. And when they found out, it was too late. And it's like, oof.
Too late. Still had 5 minutes to say, no, we call takebacks.
Yeah, no, it's already been agreed upon. You can't do that in the league type of deal. So, you just look around the league, and right now the Lakers are in a position where everybody knows how vulnerable they are. They know that LeBron's got a year, maybe 2 tops, before he calls it quits, and this team is transitioning towards a Luka Doncic-centered team, and the center being a part of that is just a chasm of a hole for that roster.
Side note, very weird to see LeBron retirement ads all over the NBA Finals. Like he's doing press conferences about retiring. It's like, you're not. My wife looked at me last night and goes, did LeBron retire? I'm like, no.
No, there's just too much attention not being paid to him. Like there's literally a story just the other day about how his kids want him to keep going as long as he wants to keep going.
Cool. Great. Awesome. Already knew that. What does this mean for the Blazers at 11, though? Because I've seen that the Lakers have been as aggressive as trying to get up to 5th, which would be Utah, which would be weird. But
it's going to cost a lot.
It's going to cost them a ton. But when you have LeBron and Luka, you're going, all right, what's it going to cost us to get that big that we need those two to work off of?
And that would be Walker Kessler. And they have tried to get Walker Kessler numerous times. The Jazz are not trading Walker Kessler for anything less than 2 good firsts. 2 good firsts. I'm solid. No protections, no nothing. And probably a good player.
No protections, and looking down the line and saying,
those are valuable picks.
How far out are we? Can we push this thing out? Because Luka and Walker Kessler will have a lot of tread on the tires. And that if you send him there, that would make them relevant throughout the entirety of their
quickly.
deals.
And Walker Kessler is a lob threat and a great defensive anchor. Like those are the kind of bigs that Luka can just thrive with.
All right. Well, I hope they're not.
Yeah, no. I don't.
I hope
Danny would require somebody's firstborn kid for that deal to take place, for Walker to go to the Lakers. He would extort every pound of flesh.
Well, his kid is now a front office member, so you posted this poll on Wednesday. Who do you want in the NBA draft pertaining to the Portland Trailblazers? Not individually, people drafting them to own them. Kasparas Yakachonis from Illinois Was he like 6'8"?
Oh, no. Yegor
Or
6'8",
Yego 6'8",
barefoot.
6'6".
Yeah. So Kasparis, I believe, came in at 6'5" barefoot, if I remember
Okay,
right.
6'6" in
But
shoes.
he's a solid. Like I've seen him. He's a big, strong kid.
Okay. Carter Bryant, wing out of Arizona.
6'7" wing plus wingspan, hell of an athlete.
Cedric Coward, Washington State by way of Willamette
And
Eastern Washington.
And almost Duke.
Go Bearcats.
Well traveled. Yeah, go Bearcats. And then other. Coming in dead last was Cedric Coward, 14.6%.
Which is a bit surprising to me because I've seen a lot of Blazer fans that are very excited about the idea of Cedric Coward, which is why I put him on the poll.
Other was third at 16.7% of the pollees. There's a lot of people that said Cooper Flagg in the other. No. Deal chiming in with the anyone taller than 6'6". All right. We can have that.
Yeah, I mean, I think everyone on that list is.
Noah Asenge came in on that. Derek Queen. And then Ty just said pick package to trade Ant and/or Grant. So Anthony Simons or Jeremy Grant.
The Blazers aren't using a pick to get off anyone.
Yegor Demon coming in the other category. So Rasheer Fleming, he came in on like the first wave of workouts.
He was in
didn't he?
He was in the second wave, but
Second.
he was in the first like real good group.
Okay. Those are your sampling of the others. But coming in second was Carter Bryant at 33.8 in a close vote. A couple of votes swinging this one. Kasparis Yakushonis coming in at first, 34.9% of the pollees.
Which I found a bit surprising because I think more people out here will probably be a little bit more familiar with Carter Bryant, even though he is coming off the bench. But maybe there's some Duck fans in there that are scarred by when Illinois came to town and beat them by 40.
Shot lights out. Well, I think that would be a reason why you would want him.
Yeah, I mean, well, what's funny is Kasparis didn't even have that great of a game. It's just everybody else was. He had a good game, but everybody else was lights out in that game.
Now, this is the question, though. Rip City can never agree on who they want in a draft.
Honk once for Greg, twice for KD.
Yeah, this has been the longest story in Blazers franchise history. Is the fan base always is all over the place. But it also seems like organizationally they're kind of in the same spot because of the way that this draft is built. The depth between 6, and you've said this several times, 6 and 14 is a logjam. But that extends out from 6 to like 21, 22, 23.
Yeah, there's a lot of guys that can go like.
There's so much variety, and a lot of the guys don't fit the bill of what Portland actually needs.
No, it's a very interesting draft when you're talking about the viability of potential and positional fit for the Blazers. Like the guys who have more potential here aren't necessarily guys I think the Blazers are looking at. There's a lot of, not a lot, but there's a fair amount of bigs in this draft, and the Blazers really aren't looking at bigs right now. They have 3 centers on their roster that are all not only viable, they're good. Like that's, they just have a ton of depth there. And you look at every position on the team has a young guy or 2 at every position as far as positional depth is concerned. Now, they're at the point now where they're probably going to turn over a couple of players, and I would imagine they're probably going to trade a player or 2. But with that, they're probably more comfortable now taking on a younger guy. Now, if a transaction pops up that is somewhat Denny adjacent in the sense of like, hey, here's a young guy who we think has like even more potential untapped and we can really get into that, I could see them doing that. I think looking at where they are right now, just based on intel and discussions around the league, I'd say it's a better than a coin toss chance that the Blazers use the pick. But I think there's a real possibility that they either trade out and back and get more draft capital or trade the pick for another player that's Denny light. So it's very
trade. All right. I would like that. As long as there's somebody coming to Portland that's got the
how my bop, how my bounce, how my pop.
Mellow.
There you go. The Bobby Marks floated one earlier for ESPN that involved the Lakers in their pursuit of a center and the Brooklyn Nets. The Blazers would end up getting Dalton Connect and a 2027 top 4 protected
Don't do
pick
that
from the
to
Knicks.
our fan base.
I put it out there already.
This is exactly what our fan base is like.
The Lakers would end up
Dalton Connect again. We're doing this 2 drafts in a row.
I think the Blazers were totally fine with Dalton Connect, but I saw some folks who were like, oh no, Dalton Connect's going to be the guy and going into that draft. I'm like, no, he's not. It's going to be one of the bigs. It's probably going to be Clingan. I don't know why everybody's going down this path, but here we go. But the Blazers would get connected a 2027 first that's top 4 protected from the Knicks. That doesn't have a ton of value. The Knicks are probably going to be pretty good for the next couple of years. The Lakers would end up with the Nets number 8 pick and number 36. And then the Nets would end up with the Blazers number 11 and the Lakers 2031 unprotected pick.
No.
Moving back 3 spots gets you a 2031 unprotected. I'm like, yeah, I don't know about that, dog. And the Blazers definitely feel like they get the shortest end of the stick here.
Yeah, well, this is the most national trade
How do we
proposal
get
of all time.
the
Like,
Lakers a center? Because
Yeah.
this would all
how do the Lakers get a center?
because it's Colin Malwatch.
Which team can we just sit there and be the throw-in? Oh, yeah, Portland. Yeah, sure, that one. Look, with everything you laid out, the depth of young guys on this roster across the board, are you going to get somebody that is going to earn immediate playing time at 11?
No.
Trade it. That's how I feel. I mean, if that right there is how you can go down this.
Unless a dude comes to camp like 2, because that's what ended up happening. Tumani came
Sure.
out in camp and was just an absolute banshee.
Sure, but they also they wanted him in that deal too.
They knew there was something there, but they also had the
wanted him
benefit of.
even though he's a second round pick. I get it.
But they saw him at Summer League and they were like, oh, yeah, there's a little bit more there, and that was where a lot of that came from.
But if you don't identify that guy, then trade it and get somebody that can be that person that you say, no, we wedge them in, they're better.
I did the exercise of like, let's set the bar at 14 points per game, and then age under 25 in the NBA last year, just to show the guys that scored at least 14, not like high level guys that like very Denny reminiscent. Everyone on that list, with the exception of like 3 guys, is untouchable. And like you just look at that and go, is a team going to take the number 12 pick and insert whatever salary here for that guy? And as I did the exercise, there was, I think, 2 or 3 guys that you could squint and maybe say yes. But outside of that, I just don't think that's the case.
They also got players that they can deal to.
And that's what you wonder, like how much risk are the
players that can
Blazers
do it.
willing to put into that? Are they willing to trade a Scoot? Are they willing to trade a Shaden? Are they willing to trade a young guy who they think has some upside?
Swing, baby. Swing.
So